We begin, though, with President Biden proposing major reforms affecting the presidency and the U.S. Supreme Court. He will talk about his ideas today in Texas, where he'll be commemorating the 60th anniversary of the Civil Rights Act. Ed O'Keefe is at the Lyndon B. Johnson Presidential Library in Austin, where Biden is going to be making his remarks. Good to see you, Ed. Let us talk about these proposed changes the president is bringing up.
Yeah, he's got three big ideas, Anne-Marie. First off, he would call for a constitutional amendment making clear that former presidents could face prosecution for crimes committed while in office. It's a move designed to essentially reverse the recent Supreme Court decision that suggests former presidents have at least partial immunity from prosecution, a decision that Donald Trump is using to get various state and federal cases against him dismissed. The second would be to have the 9 justices on the Supreme Court follow an enforceable code of conduct similar to the one used by all other federal judges. Among other things, they'd have to disclose major gifts they receive, if someone's paying for their travel. And it's also calling on them to recuse themselves from cases in which their spouse might have a financial or other kind of conflict of interest, designed to address the recent news reports about the lavish travel of Justice Clarence Thomas with the political activity of his wife and that of Samuel Alito. The idea being that there's already a code of conduct for other federal judges. It should apply as well to the Supreme Court. But perhaps the boldest idea, Anne-Marie, he's got is establishing 18-year term limits for the 9 justices and setting them up in a cadence such that as a justice terms off the bench, a president would be able to appoint a new one every 2 years. That would be a radical overhaul of the way things work right now. The president pointing out in an op-ed in the Washington Post this morning that the Supreme Court is the only major high court in any advanced country that gives lifetime appointments. All the others have term limits of some length. And by doing that, it might establish a little more accountability and also ensure that a certain president doesn't have a lot of influence over the court, in that they might be able to pick several different, as Donald Trump did over the course of his 4 years, with 3 due to death or retirement. Interesting set of ideas, all designed to gin up the progressive base of the party, and they were all set to be unveiled, of course, before he dropped out of the race.
Yeah, term limits and also mandatory, retirement ages. That's something that you see in Supreme Courts around the world as well. But these are proposals, so what would it actually take to make them a reality?
Well, first of all, Vice President Harris this morning has said she fully supports these ideas. So should she win the presidency, she's going to continue pushing for them. But it would require essentially a fully controlled Democratic Congress that has enough members willing to make these big kinds of changes. That's no guarantee even with Democrats, but certainly not if Republicans are controlling the House or the Senate. And the constitutional amendment, of course, we haven't had one of those in a while, would require dozens of states to sign off. Potentially an unpopular move given the political climate we're in. But all of them, again, designed to be sort of campaign year promises made to a base of the Democratic Party increasingly concerned and upset with recent decisions by the court and concerns about the behavior of some of the justices.
All right, Ed, thank you very much.